It's Friday, September 26th, 2025. It's the 269th day of the year, and I've got a major update for you on our upcoming tropical situation down here. We've got Hurricane Humberto churning away down here, currently a Category 1 hurricane. By the time you're watching this, it's probably a Category 2. It looks like it's trying to clear out an eye there, but I do believe that at least by early tomorrow morning, we're going to have a Category 2 hurricane with 104 mile per hour winds, and this thing is going to rapidly intensify to a Category 4 major hurricane with 132 mile per hour winds as early as September 28th at 2 p.m. And this is going to be one of those storms where as it undergoes rapid intensification, depending on how many eye wall replacement cycles it goes through and the timing of those, it is going to have the opportunity to flirt with Category 5 strength. Now, the good news with Humberto is we're quite certain that it's going to be a fish storm. All right. It's not looking like it's going to impact the United States. It's not even looking like it's going to have a huge impact on Bermuda, and it's going to ride the gap there. Now, our other system down here, Invest 94L, this is the one that we're a little bit more concerned about as far as U.S. and, Bahamas impacts. In fact, it's down there in the Virgin Islands, Dominican Republic, even over towards Cuba, causing some heavy rain right now. But this one is the one that we've got to watch very closely as it goes up towards the southeastern United States. It still has a 90% chance of becoming a depression over the next 7 days, 80% over the next 2 days. It's probably going to be within the next 2 days that we have Tropical Storm Imelda down here near the Bahamas. So like I was saying, Humberto, we're pretty certain that it's going to miss the United States. All the models here show that recurving action. The one place I would be preparing for potential impacts at some level is Bermuda, but that's still several days out, maybe 5-6 days. So we've got time over there. The really interesting thing here is going to be the interaction between Humberto and Invest 94L, or Tropical Storm Imelda, which it will probably be by September 27th here. We've got two tropical systems very close to each other, and the steering currents are going to intermingle. Humberto is going to be much stronger than Imelda, so it's going to kind of be the boss here, and there's going to be a tug of war between them. And it looks to me like what's going to happen is there is going to be just enough distance between them to where the pulling force of Humberto is going to steal a lot of the energy away from Imelda, but it's not going to reroute the track right away. In fact, I think it's actually going to push Imelda towards the United States. And you can see here on the GFS, we actually have a landfalling system potentially on September 29th, right around 6 p.m. near Myrtle Beach. And while this is still uncertain, I do think that that is a realistic thing that could happen here. But the interaction between these two systems does not stop there. This thing's going to start moving really slow because of that pulling motion towards Humberto. Humberto is going to continue to get stronger, which is going to make it an even more dynamic situation. And Humberto will ultimately go off to the north and east. But notice what happens in the southeastern United States with the remnants of Imelda. They kind of just stall out over here. So one of the most concerning things about this tropical system to me right now is the fact that this could be another big flooding event for the Carolinas especially. So let me pull this back a little bit, and what we're looking at here is the potential rainfall intensity forecast, or the precipitable water values. And starting today, they're going to be quite elevated over here in the southeast United States. Anything in the red is going to be an atmosphere that's primed for flooding rainfall. Okay, so if you have a storm today in Nashville and you have a similar storm today near Augusta, Georgia, for example, the one in Augusta, Georgia is going to have access to more moisture, therefore it will produce heavier rainfall rates. So we are going to see storms today in the southeast, and this front here is going to kind of stall out, leading to a lot of rainfall today and tomorrow. This is somewhat of a predecessor rainfall event, which is actually something that happened with Hurricane Helene, which shockingly happened a year ago today. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene, and here we are again talking about a predecessor rainfall event event followed by a tropical landfall and then heavy rain in the Appalachian Mountains and the Piedmont area. So unfortunately, we are going to have another flooding event here to talk about in the Carolinas. But the good news is I don't think it's going to be as bad. Remember, Helene made landfall as a Category 4 and it dropped 30 inches of rain. With this, it's not going to be that intense, but it's still something that we have to think about. Here's another visualization on the GFS showing the interaction between Humberto and Tropical Storm Imelda. Once again, we expect it to really get its act together near the Bahamas tomorrow into Sunday. And you can see how Humberto is going to push it close to Florida, and then it's going to get pulled up towards South Carolina, dropping a ton of rain in a short period of time. And then notice how the remnants there stall out as Humberto tries to pull it with it as it ejects off to the north and east, but it just doesn't want to move. And we're about to dive so much deeper into that, but first, let's shout out today's sponsor. Delete Me, your personal data is yours again. So us coming into hurricane season's got me thinking about ways to be prepared. And the way we usually do this is stocking up on supplies, charging our devices, making evacuation plans. But there's one thing that a lot of us hardly ever even think about protecting, and that's our personal information. I found out recently that there are companies called data brokers that are literally selling your personal details online. Your home address, your phone number, even information about your family members, it's all out there. Anybody can buy it right now. And honestly, that's pretty daggone scary. I personally use and trust Delete Me for this. Their privacy experts go out and remove your data from hundreds of data broker websites. And when I got my first privacy report, I could not believe it. They found my information on a bunch of websites that I'd never even heard of. Once you get it set up, it's really easy and you don't have to think about it anymore. If you want some of that same peace of mind that I have, get 20% off Delete Me by going to joindeleteme.com/Ryan Hall. And make sure you use the discount code Ryan Hall at checkout. And that's going to get you, once again, 20% off. That's joindeleteme.com/Ryan Hall. There's a link at the top of the description. I really recommend checking it out. So let me know what you think about it in the comments, and let's get back into the video. So this is going to be a long duration rainfall event starting today. The Weather Prediction Center has already put out a slight risk of excessive rainfall for places like Asheville, North Carolina. This also includes Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, Greensboro, all the way up to Roanoke. Here on the southeastern side of the Appalachian Mountains, we are expecting lots of rain today. And this is not a result of Tropical Storm Imelda directly. This is a cold front that is preceding the tropical system. And if we take a look at future radar here, you can see that storms are going to get started this afternoon and evening, and it's going to be isolated, okay? It's not going to be very widespread, but there's going to be some training thunderstorms here that will definitely drop 2 to 4 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And there are going to be a couple places that might even see more rain than that. So get ready for the rain today. And then you can see our next tropical storm really getting its act together down there near the Bahamas on the HRRR. Now, what's really interesting is what happens after that. Here's the day 2 WPC outlook. So another slight risk in the Carolinas up into Virginia. How about day 3? Carolinas still got a slight risk. Day 4, day 5. So the next 5 days are going to be incredibly rainy down here, and this is just the beginning, okay? So as we get closer to these day 3 through 5 outlooks, I wouldn't be surprised if we at some point saw a moderate risk of excessive rainfall, especially if we end up getting a landfall, or even a high risk of excessive rainfall from the Weather Prediction Center, which is another thing that happened prior to Helene. So the similarities are there, and I know a lot of people are going to be worried about that, but I do want to try to ease your mind a little bit. While it's too early to say that this won't be a catastrophe, it's not looking like it's going to be as bad of a catastrophe as Helene. It would be very unlikely that we get some sort of repeat. Here is the latest QPF forecast from the Weather Prediction Center for the next 7 days. This is how much rain we could see, and I actually think this is somewhat conservative, but you can see that there's a widespread area of anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain, especially in North Carolina and Virginia there. And you know, some of the more recent model outputs have actually shown a southern kind of shift here. So this paints a lot of the heavy rain up here towards Virginia Beach and north of Raleigh. But notice how the latest European model is showing a thinner corridor of heavier rain and farther south. So let's switch over to the European model here. Once again, there's our predecessor rainfall event showing, some places getting 2 inches, 4 inches of rain in a short period of time, especially the closer you get to the southeast coast. And then watch Tropical Storm Imelda approach from the southeast and once again make landfall somewhere around South Carolina and to move very slowly across the Piedmont over towards the foothills of the Appalachians winds and just stall there for a bit. And it's possible that by October 3rd, some places over here, maybe even around Asheville, North Carolina, could have over 10 inches of rain. This is one model, but I just wanted to show you how some of the more recent model outputs are pushing the totals a little bit farther south and west. So there's a lot to cover here, and this is going to change a bunch, but just know that if you are anywhere in this corridor, you got to be thinking about flash flooding on top of the other risks that come with a landfalling tropical system. And I do want to make it very clear that while this is looking like one of the more likely possibilities here, this is still a very uncertain system. This is still a very unpredictable kind of thing. The fact that we're having two tropical systems so close to each other is something that we don't see every day, so the models aren't trained on this. They don't know exactly what's going to happen, and neither do meteorologists. Like, we're doing our best with the data that we have, but this is a very rare and uncommon scenario, and the outcome is likely going to be different than what we think it's going to be right now. But it's best to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and in my opinion, this is one of the worst case scenarios right here. But don't go after your local weatherman with pitchforks if this thing does end up just going out to sea and not even making landfall, which is still a possibility, believe it or not. And that's the main story, right? Imelda and Humberto, that's the main thing that we're watching over the next couple of days. We are going to have some short-term severe weather and flash flooding threats down here in Arizona and New Mexico, similar to what we had yesterday. We're going to have repeated problems with flash flooding and hail and wind down there. But for the most part, things are quiet across the middle of the United States until we get to the beginning of October, actually just in time for us to no longer be focused on Imelda. Our next big thing that we're going to be tracking is likely this low pressure system here in cold front that's going to come into the northern plains potentially around October 3rd and maybe bring some severe weather, and then that's going to progress off to the east and potentially be something that we have to watch in the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes region as we go into that first week of October. But right now, the main thing that I'm focused on, of course, is Tropical Storm Imelda, potential Hurricane Imelda, and Hurricane Humberto out here in the Atlantic Ocean. And that's all the weather talk I have for you today. Make sure you slap that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.